Hello everyone, welcome back. And we're going to be doing a new video of something that I've been meaning to do about for a while now. That is comparing technology between different franchises and seeing how they fare against each other. Today we are comparing Halo energy shielding, Mass Effect kinetic barriers, and Starcraft plasma shielding. Now, I want you to keep in mind this one single question that I want you to answer to me down in the comments below after this video is over. If you were given an option between these three choices for your military to use, which would it be? Assuming they had the know-how on how to build them, excluding anything else. Your military knows how to build these. First and foremost, let's look at cost and resources. What does it take to actually build these shielding devices? Well, to the best of my knowledge, and I have found nothing contradictory to this point, Halo energy shielding requires no special resources of any kind. However, they do seem, to the best of my knowledge, to be expensive to a degree. This is most notable the Covenant, who, for whatever reason, not all of their starships are actually shielded. Yes, here it is. Nearly all Starcraft, how larger than a Corvette, which is the smallest shielding, does not have energy shielding. This is somewhat odd. Why not give it shielding? This could be a personal choice for the fact that it's such a small vessel, it doesn't really need combat. Doesn't expect combat. But it is worthy of a note that it seems to be on the expensive side. This also is further empowered by the fact that not all Covenant troops use shielding. The Grunts don't use it, the Kinyar use only gauntlets of it, and not even all the Yami, the drones, use all of it. Most Shingile do it, but that says most, not all. And same with the freaking gorilla dudes. I don't remember their names off the top of my head. It's right there. But the prophets, the hierarchs, are also not always shielding, so it begs the questions about how common is shielding, is what I'm trying to get at. It always seems to be one thing, is it seems to be difficult, or it's not always useful to put on shieldings on everything, although they do make it apparent that it is basically all over the place. However, another downfall for this is apparently not all their vehicles, which seem to be meant for direct combat, have it, yet they can be upgraded to be shielded. Almost universally unshielded can be retrofitted, which is a downside. Why not just have them shielded in the first place? This does speak downfall for the shielding, but it seems to be great that there's no special resources. It means anyone can build it. So, take it what you will. I've been rambling enough. Now let's go to, how does Kinetic Barriers sound? Fair. These, somewhat like energy shield, only needs one special resource, and that is Element 0, which can, well, that's difficult to do, as in that it's mostly toxic and radioactive, and a whole other slew of things I'm not going to get into. So, you need that, but otherwise, Kinetic Barriers seem to be relatively cheap, or at least cheaper than Halo shielding, and is basically everywhere, as I don't think there's any enemies in the game you don't face that have it. They make it relatively apparent that this is everywhere, so take it how you will. But that is a bit of a major downside, is requiring the special resources is something else. Now, plasma shielding. To the best of my knowledge, the only piece of thing you need for plasma shielding is psionic energy, which that's actually one of the biggest downsides of everything. You need not something you can potentially find out or create. You need a mythological force, which is going to make it extremely difficult to even produce such a thing. And because you need psionic power to power it, limits it even to a greater degree than before. So far, if I had to rate them, surely based on the cost and resources, it would be Halo, Mass Effect, then Starcraft, purely because of the resources. Now, let's go over to strengths and weaknesses of these things. Energy shielding protects basically from all known attacks. Projectiles, energy, freaking physical attacks, everything is protected. It protects against everything. That's pretty clear on what it can and cannot do. Although there is another downside, and that is, I actually didn't know that. Protective weapon is generally ineffective against Starcraft shielding. And while energy weapons seem to have a more relative ease at dealing with it, or at least starships. But another downside that I know of is shielding does have a noticeable flaw, however. When a starship launches a weapon of some kind, a small section of a shield must be dropped. This is a huge downside, as you'd never want to drop any section of your shielding. This is an incredibly strong flaw, but it is countered by its extremely resilience of covering from all damage. So it has a major flaw and a major upside. Ooh, that's take it at you will, but it seems to be relatively useful. Now, Kinetic Barriers. Kinetic Barriers, unlike shielding, can only protect against physical projectiles, and not even against punches or melee attacks, or at least none that go bad. They have to be of a relative speed, which means any type of real gun, but what about laser weaponry? I mean, if it's not common, that's still something you have to consider. And it does not protect against the extremes of temperatures, toxins, or radiations. Another thing that is bad about it. It doesn't have any particular strengths, but it has quite a few downsides. Why? I don't know. And plasma shielding. A strength of this thing is there's no particular strength that the others don't have in common with it. But it can be used because it's psionic energy. It can take it from outside sources, such as shield batteries. This is actually a good thing, is just having a few shield batteries around your troops. You can just infinitely regen your shield even while you're in combat. It's particularly useful. And you also have variants on the shielding. A downside, though, is it seems to be in a bubble shape. Even for troops, unlike the others, which seem to be always extremely close to the body. This is somewhat of a downside, but take it as you will. Now, for the last thing, any other mentionables of particular note? Well, there's nothing of particular note about energy shielding, but there is invincible energy shielding. Let's see, where it is. The drop shield. And there's also the bubble shield, which generates a basically invincible bubble shield around you. But anything can really just pass through it. But they are temporary. No, wait, drop shield doesn't do that. It doesn't protect you. Anyways, these really do. That is pretty bad. It does not allow smaller ships to travel through subspace. Somewhat of a downside, but oh well. But they do have shield stationary shielding, which they do make use of, which is actually particularly good. You can just throw that on the field, boom, you have an instant barrier for troops to hide behind. Don't have to waste your own shielding. Not particularly the greatest thing to use, but having these temporary shieldings do offer a benefits to protection, and since they regen over time, that acts as a basically second shielding, other protection. It's decent, not the greatest, but not the worst. And next we have the Mass Effect Kinetic Barriers. Mass Effect Kinetic Barriers don't have anything in particular, but they do have the multi-core shielding, which is a rapidly oscillating kinetic obstructions of cyclone barrier technology, blah blah blah. This is basically, it just slaps around any projectile, rapidly increasing the strength of the barrier of the Kinetic Barriers technology. However, it is, best of my knowledge, much more high maintenance than normal, and there is a potential that if it goes out of control, it could just basically destroy the ship entirely. I would also like to point out, I don't believe it can be used on infantry or vehicles of anything at all lesser than a frigate. I mean, smaller than a frigate, as the control mechanism for it is too complicated to fit in that small space. Great for starships, not great for infantry. That would do a great deal of protecting them. I would also like to add at this time that Reaper shielding, apparently the most advanced shielding in the entire universe, can't even do much. It is incredibly powerful, but it does noticeably protect against energy weapons to a degree that is incredibly powerful, considering for all intents and purposes no other shielding does. That is a huge bonus if it could be made common. Finally, we have plasma shieldings. To make note of, there is no other notes other than the fact that it is it's more or less a bubble shield. Although another weakness is, even though it is psionic powered, it can still be affected by EMPs. That's not a particularly good thing. However, its shielding bonuses does add up. I mean, having a regenerating shield is pretty powerful. So, how would I compare these? Well, personally, the cost is very high, but I would still rate the Halo energy shielding a bit above the other ones, simply because of the fact that there's no real resource restrictions. While it does have a very high negatives, the current military has no starships of any kind, so no real downfall for that. Something to think of in the future, though. And it does have quite a few other strength to go with it, which making it a very valuable resource, but the cost would be high, limiting it to higher ranking troops, something of a downside. And now we move on to Mass Effect. It is in second place, and the reasons why for second place is, while it is the resource, it is basically everywhere, the resources of Element Zero is incredibly rare, and it cannot protect against temperatures, radiation, toxins, and most importantly, energy-based weaponry, which is a huge downside. Its cyclone barrier technology, while impressive and even including the Reaper upgrade, it still doesn't matter against that particular things. It also does not have many other positives to go with it. I will leave that. And then third, the reason for this, and the only reason it gets the real third place, is because it requires psionic capability. If your race does not have this ability, then it's essentially a useless technology. It does not matter how well you know this technology, you still cannot use them. Otherwise, it's very close for thirds, and I'll have to give in. Please comment down below and answer that question. Please do give me your opinions on the question I asked earlier in the video. Thank you, and goodbye, everyone. Quick note, something I forgot to add at the end of the last video is, up here in the corner, the eye thingy, I'm not too sure about, I will have a little pull up of which one do you believe is the best shield technology. Please do keep biased opinions and away, and please do give reasonings for your opinion. I will be stating who the winner is, whoever got the most votes, and in what order and everything next time. Don't know when I'm doing that. And please do comment below on any other information that I did not comment on. I will also be presenting that, and hopefully that will change your opinions in some way. Anyways, bye.